My name is Jack Marco. I'm the chairman of the Marco Consulting Group, an investment consulting firm. I founded in 1988. We serve about 400 defined benefit plans as clients. Most are multi-employer, jointly trusteed plans organized under the Taft-Hartley Act and subject to ERISA. In most cases, we serve as an investment consultant, but in many situations, we serve as a named fiduciary where we make the decisions on asset allocation and select investment managers. Our clients' aggregate value is approximately $90 billion. The employee trustees of the Taft-Hartley plans are electricians and bakers, bricklayers and nurses, janitors and plumbers. They work in our grocery stores and hotels and hospitals. They drive trucks and make clothes and care for the sick. They are the very best our nation has for building complex construction projects and providing necessary and sometimes critical services. The employer trustees represent small business and large. They are contractors, HR specialists, labor relations specialists, and representatives of trade associations. While they are not investment professionals, as leaders in their unions and businesses, they are smart, successful, accomplished individuals. As trustees, they work tirelessly to provide a solid retirement benefit for their members and their employees, and they accept all of the liabilities of a fiduciary and receive no compensation. When I first started providing investment consulting services to Taft-Hartley plans in 1977, their investments were overwhelmingly in traditional assets of stocks, bonds, and insurance contracts. I was hired as an investment consultant to help them select and monitor investment firms which would manage their assets. Their investments in publicly traded stocks and bonds were held at a custodian bank and independently valued by them. There was little debate about what they owned, what it was worth, and the risks they were taking. Today, our clients still own stocks and bonds held in many of the same custodial banks. However, these assets represent about 75% of their funds. The remainders are in real estate partnerships and commingled funds, private equity partnerships, LLCs, and hedge funds. On the positive side, these assets have added important diversification to the portfolios and improved returns. On the negative side, many of these strategies have become very complex with little regulation and government oversight. The trustees are expected to be prudent experts when selecting investments which use these strategies. More than ever, they rely on independent investment consulting firms such as ours to educate them on the risks and returns of these approaches, bring them the best managers, and help them avoid the poor ones. That is becoming more challenging every day. I would like to focus on two of these investment approaches, private equity and hedge funds. In private equity, the definition of private means making investments in companies that are not registered with the SEC as publicly traded securities. They are not generally followed by Wall Street. One of the advantages of private equities is that that little is known about these startup companies or privately held institutions. Therefore, investors who seek out these companies have greater opportunities for superior return. It's also true that this same lack of information creates risk to investors. While a manager of publicly traded equity may hold 50 securities, some private equity managers will hold less than 10 investments. These private equity investments are typically partnerships, the investment manager being the general partner and the pension fund being the limited partner. At the time of investment, there are no investments made yet, and the manager begins the process of looking for companies in which to invest. The investor has to rely on his own due diligence and information provided by the general partner to provide some confidence that the general partner will do well. Our clients typically meet 4 times a year to conduct all of the business of the pension fund. They have no capacity and no investment staff to perform that due diligence. Most often, they look to an investment consultant to provide that due diligence for them. Our process examines private equity managers in great detail, everything from SEC registration, third-party providers, offering memorandums, marketing materials, and the like. We require this information to proceed. However, the general partners are not required to provide it. If they refuse, we move on to another candidate. The general partner moves on to another investor who may not demand these disclosures. The best general partners provide all that is asked of them and more. The worst general partners rely on slick presentations without appropriate disclosure. The same can be said about disclosures after the pension fund has become an investor. Again, all of these requirements we place on any partnership we recommend to our clients. This is not demanded by the investor. Where it is not demanded by the investor, it may not be provided because it is not required by law. Our preference is for our clients to use private equity fund of funds instead of individual private equity funds. The fund of fund structure provides diversification of strategy, geography, and industry. The fund of funds manager brings expertise, access, and oversight and resources the investment process and bears full responsibility for the evaluation, selection, timing of all of these investments. We believe this due diligence structure and the use of fund of funds is a very effective tool for Taft-Hartley trustees. However, requiring general partners to provide these disclosures would ensure that all investors have the information they need to make intelligent, informed decisions. On hedge funds, there are over 9,000 hedge funds available for pension fund investors. They include a multitude of strategies: long-short equity, merger arbitrage, relative value, distressed debt, fixed income arbitrage, and the list goes on. These are some of the most sophisticated strategies executed in the industry. Consequently, it requires equally sophisticated supervision. That is why we prefer funds of hedge funds for our clients. These are typically partnerships or LLCs that select a group of hedge funds and move in and out of them over time. The investor then owns shares in 30 to 50 hedge funds in a diversified portfolio rather than just a few they would select on their own. As a result, we focus our analyzing and monitoring on funds of hedge funds. We have developed a list of best practices for funds of hedge funds. Generally, we do not recommend funds of hedge funds that do not adhere to the majority of the best practices. We also expect fund of hedge fund managers to follow certain best practices in its due diligence and monitoring underlying hedge funds. Our best practices are divided into 4 categories: people, investment, operational, and business. Let me just mention that one of the key things about people: background checks, history, experience, and operational risk is something that's very key to us. We think the funds need to hire third-party firms to manage custody, audit, and administration responsibility. We want to also measure the business risk of these institutions. Let me make clear that these are best practices we believe are appropriate and that we follow. They are not required by law or in regulation. Finally, we believe the SEC registration should be required for all hedge funds and funds of hedge funds, and thus we welcome Congress's passage of the Financial Reform Bill requiring registration of those funds with $150 million or more under management as an important step towards that goal. In conclusion, I'd like to say the investment environment that Taft-Hartley Fund trustees face today is exponentially more complex than it was when I joined the industry 3 decades ago. It's very difficult to expect trustees to understand the many investment strategies, but without full and complete disclosure by the investment community, it is nearly impossible for these trustees to do their job in protecting the retirement security of millions of American workers. From the professional advisor and fiduciary's perspective, I know requiring these disclosure would help us do a better job of scrutinizing these investments. I've also provided the committee with a list of these best practices on private equity and hedge funds on the website provided to the committee. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.